want to say, you don't want to be like, maybe you shouldn't do that exact same drop again in the positions because it didn't go great for you. But yes, that is clearly a problem, or something to think about.
Here's why I said it depends on the carrier, right? Because Slark gets going very early, and they just left him uncontested. I don't know that running the Slardar in the offlane is going to help prevent that problem, though. And Doom does retire into the jungle more successfully than Slark. So, if making a decision between putting the Doom offlane and the Slardar offlane, I do actually think that the Doom is the more likely offlaner here over the Slardar, and a 4-position Slardar coming out. Just because we know what Rebels' proclivities are.
Yeah, it also was just a bit of a weird game because it felt like Rebels, you mentioned the lack of discipline when they kind of got run over, but it just felt like they were out of position a lot, like you said, getting caught out, getting dived so deep into their base. It started out so great with the very coordinated duels, being very patient, knowing that Legion Commander could survive through that entire mid-gank early on, but didn't work out. Either way, they're bringing us a Timbersaw, and this is a way to deal with those tanky strength heroes. Obviously, the Whirling Death going to help you out some there, and I do wonder if this is going to be a mid-Timbersaw to go toe-to-toe with the DK.
Reserve time.
It could be. I mean, we did used to actually see mid-Timbersaws, not irregularly when Timbersaw was played, not irregularly. Part of the issue with the mid-Timbersaws, you just don't have as much access to tree line.
Yes.
And so his escape potential goes down pretty substantially, as does his damage potential. I don't think I've seen a mid-Timbersaw on this patch so far. And especially if you're going to be aggressive with the Timbersaw in lane, with the additional armor aura around the tower and him being forced to jump all the way into the tower if he does land onto a tree, that could make it even more difficult than it had been. That said, we do know, obviously, that the Whirling Death is really effective against strength heroes. Not only does it do damage, but it steals effective hit points as well.
We should never neglect to mention that it could just be that Rebels, like earlier today when we were waiting for the server, doing their part in chopping down those trees. So, win or lose, they've done something good for us all. The other thing I really think is interesting, they have run the mid-Timbersaw before. They've also run a safe lane Timbersaw before. Obviously, the slight trade-off there is if the Timbersaw has to share the lane with someone, it's not going to get those sweet levels. But Timbersaw with a lot of farm, we've all seen how Timbersaw with those big monopools can dominate, and of course the buff to the Bloodstone. Really nice on that hero.
This is also an abnormally intelligence-dominated draft for Timbersaw to be played into. This patch has been usually 3 strength heroes per team in terms of draft. Earth Spirit is technically a strength hero, but he does play very much as a support, very much as a playmaker. If there is an agility carry coming out for Radiant, the Timbersaw is not going to be as effective as we would otherwise expect. And they did also ban out the Slark, seeing the very similar patterns that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by this Weaver pickup just because Rebels have been the ones banning it throughout the draft so far, but it does make, I mean, when we get down to it, it makes a lot of sense. If you get a good Slithering Crush on people, you put the Swarm on them. The Swarm has been buffed a couple patches, and it's really strong. It actually is something, last patch when people were having level 1 rune fights, we were seeing people skill at level 1 and winning rune fights.
Yeah,
and the rare occasion that Weaver gets picked up.
It is a pretty strong skill. I think that it's honestly undervalued, as I think you agree. Gyrocopter is going to be the pick here. That's just such a lack of control. And Shadow Demon does have his ultimate to slow the Weaver down, but they've got no way to hold the Weaver still. They kind of can maybe rely on the Earth Spirit for a silence, but Weaver is very fast, and he ducks and dives. It will be harder for Big Num to land silences and stuns on that Weaver than it is on many other.
At the same time, Weaver, really low health flow, so they don't have to hit a lot, right? They just need to in still for a little bit.
That is true, but with time-lapse and everything, it may be difficult to get that damage on him, is my only concern. Also, how do they lane this? They have 4 potential off-laners, 3 potential safe laners, 4 really if you say, well, Rebels have run Timbersaw in the safe lane before.
Oh,
They've
no,
got
it's
3 potential supports.
definitely Timber mid and offlane Slaughter. I believe I saw them doing this in the open qualifiers. I used to call some rebels for the open qualifiers, and then I'm trying to remember if they did it actually in the major closed or qualifiers, regional. That's the word. I'm struggling to remember, but
So
it isn't the first time they pulled
Weaver
it up.
rotating into the farming carry, and then we are going to see, it looks like, off-lane Slarda? Well, no, maybe. He just came out with the words. Okay, so yeah, it will be a repeat of the off-lane Doom, maybe? No, because Vanscore is sitting on top of...
No, it's definitely Shocklow.
Yeah. Shocklow off-lane. I'm not sure why he grabbed the Sentry ward, unless he's, like, actively planning on dewarding something.
I think a little bit concerned, about the potential for a lane ward. It's not uncommon sometimes to see Radiant put a ward here or something, which just makes it really easy to zone that offlaner. So
It's just with Sidoi in the top lane being reliant on the Shikuchi, a lot of times you do want to give your lane that has the invisibility core to sentries so that they're able to contest any potential counter sentry that comes out. That was my only concern. It is Shocklow going to be just trying to make sure that there's no lane vision going on. That's okay.
let's do our quick introductions to catch everyone up. We've got Big Nom on that Earth Spirit that he did so well on last time, although he did give away First Blood, so tisk there.
A small price to pay for a win, because remember, the loser here hits the guillotine.
Yeah, Cheshire Cat on that Darkseer going to go block his creep with Arise getting that bottom rune on the DK. We've got J4 following up on the Shadow Demon, and then Gyrocopter being played by Goddamn. We'll see how much farm he can get.
All right, and here on the Dire side for Rebel, we've got Vanscore straight from Hell on the Doom. Sidoi is bugging out on the Weaver Met Pump. He's doing that voodoo he do so well on the Witch Doctor. Tame My Wild will be whirling around on the Timbersaw, and Shocklow is going to be crushing it on Slardar.
Love to see if those predictions do come true. This mid matchup, actually one that should be pretty even. Both characters have a nice way of lost hitting with their spells, but also, Crawling Blade on the DK. Timbersaw also has lots of armor, so can just kind of stand there and take any traded hits, so I don't expect too much interesting to go on there. I'm more interested in this top lane. Cheshire Cat getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do that until Weaver hits usually about level 3, and at that point in time, the harass that comes out of Weaver's Shikuchi on top of the potential Geminate attack is going to be very difficult for that melee hero to actually get in. At that point in time, he's probably going to retire to the jungle or be forced to just farm out the lane with Ion Shells best he can. He's going to be rotated on, though.
Yeah, they're trying to give it another go onto Cheshire Cat. There will just be the surge up there. Metrum really wanted to throw that paralyzing cause. Gonna get it now. They need to actually stay pretty separated. Yeah, there's gonna be no bounce there, but there is the swarm coming out. It tries to slow Sidoi, but one more auto attack. Can they get it? The swarm is enough. And now Big Nom has to back on out. Doesn't have an ally there.
That's a very nice early blood going the way of Rebel, and this Weaver already starting to help them out in terms of creating lane control. Tame My Wild is playing extremely aggressively here in the tower. He's actually salving up underneath his opponent's tower.
Yeah, you gotta show them who's boss. I mean, Dota is actually got plenty of mind games in it, so you just making it so that the DK knows he's not getting an easy time in this lane. We have action again up in top lane. Actually, the roll in from Big Nom going to put a lot of damage onto Metrum, but at the same time, Cheshire Cat, they need that Geminate attack. It doesn't have any points in it yet, but the swarm will be enough. And now Big Nom probably going to be just fine here. Actually may do a bit of damage to Sidoi, although he has a salve. Should be able to pop that and get back up.
This top lane will probably be going better if Big Nom wasn't here. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory way, but with two heroes, the potential for a paralyzing cast bounce is just obviously much, much higher. I don't think Darkseer, without any sort of sustainable lockdown, I don't think that they'd be able to reliably get killed. But with Big Nom up here trying to hang around for the experience, he's not being quite as helpful as I think he was hoping.
Also now taking quite a bit of damage there as well. It's like up in that top lane. Shocklow, on the other hand, I mean, at least for the Darkseer, doing a bit better than Shocklow in lane, especially since Shocklow doesn't have the experience that they see on the Darkseer, although of course Darkseer 2 deaths. Arguably more impressive that he has any experience with 2 deaths.
The Gyrocopter is doing very well in the lane. He's relatively uncontested because the Shadow Demon is just man-moding into the Slardar here in the jungle, but obviously 2 kills going the way of the Weaver is going to make Sidoi difficult to catch up to.
I do wonder if sometimes when heroes like Shadow Demon who haven't been in competitive Dota for a while. I do wonder if they throw teams off a little bit. Maybe Slaughter expecting to be able to take less damage and stay in this lane longer, but of course with the amp damage or that shadow poison, you can really just blow someone up.
Yeah, and the other amount of control that you can provide to a hero like Slardar is actually really good from Chetan. And once you hit level 6, Demonic Purge is difficult to handle if you are a relatively vulnerable to kiting hero. So, you know, Shadow Demon does provide a fair amount here. He is relatively weak in the meta. He is magic damage based for the large part. Soulcatcher is, I think, an underrated ability as well. It does give you pure damage on top of whatever you're doing. And it can
Sorry, I don't. Oh, okay, maybe it will happen. I didn't have any faith. I still don't have any faith. Oh gosh, and in bottom as well. What is going on? Shocklow leading the great escape, although maybe not so escapey. Maybe just great. He's got a crush, but they. Well, he's kind of getting pincered. This is a very weird. Doom's gonna help out, but Arias has the Dragon Tail. That's a really long stun. There's the rock kick on through. Dragon Tail as well, and Doom realizes he cannot play in this neighborhood. Going to get disrupted up, though. The roll won't quite hit. He's gonna try to take it. No, he's gonna try to walk it off. Meanwhile, Weaver's murdering people in the top lane. Gonskor gets stunned again, and they do have enough damage, but now he's got those baby Doomlings. They're gonna throw some rocks, ensuring that he can get no more gold given over.
Throwing a tantrum, this Doom. Dies, so he's just gonna throw rocks at people. That's not very polite.
I'm a little surprised he didn't try to go for the kill onto Big Num, but I think there was a chance he could have gotten out, so he went for it.
Yeah, honestly, with the position that the Doom was in, they probably could have tried to just wrap around, but instead they stayed, and Shocklow trying to be a little too fancy for his own good.
That'll happen to the best of us. Taking a look around, obviously, Weaver with those 3 kills while actually still top of the CS chart as well. Wow, that is impressive that those kills haven't taken Weaver's attention from the lane.
Yeah, this lane really is doing pretty well for Darkseer in terms of just like his ability to get something out of it. But his ability to stop Sidoi, yeah, it's just not there. And Sidoi is starting to pull pretty far ahead. He's at 3,100 net worth. The Gyrocopter's at 25. In fact, the Gyrocopter just got passed by the Timbersaw as well in terms of net worth.
Well, Shocklow, there is a gank train coming for his head. Call down Dragon Tail to make sure it hits, and Shocklow will fall. And they should be able to quickly turn this into an offlane tower push.
Middle tower is under attack.
Let's see if they're able to actually make that happen. I'm not sure. There could be a potential engagement here. I mean, they've still got time to TP and defend, and the Doom did come down here to try and slow it down.
Doom trying to do best. Timbersaw, meanwhile, just chilling in mid lane. I'm not sure wants to engage yet. We do have TPs coming out, though. It's going to be Witch Octa. Unable to really find any follow-up, so the tower is saved. Dragonform going to be on cooldown for a while now.
Yeah, so that's about what I expected. Rebel are just in a position where they're able to actually go out and engage, at least near their tower, relatively successfully. Taking a look at the items that are out, the Weaver is still working. It looks like for a Desolator first, possibly saving up to go into a Linken's, but he's been having a good enough game, and there aren't a lot of hard disables on his opponent's team that I would really expect him to go straight into damage.
Oh, the Chakra being thrown out for the slow. There's the Paralyzing Tusk as well, but there is nothing else around. Will the Infernal Blade, the Maledict as well, not quite enough. The Chakra misses again, and Arias just gonna walk it off like the tanky Dragon Knight he is.
Yeah, and that's all she wrote for that engagement.
No, I wonder about timing here, because obviously for Sidoi, getting a really good start off there, already has the Blightstone. Interesting to see this build. We've actually seen a diverse array of builds coming out with the changes with the Blightstone, but I'm not sure if Sidoi just wants to farm up that Linken's and
looks
then
like he is, yeah.
And then engage after the Deso, or wants to get aggressive with the Linken's, which is an option.
Right, yeah, you don't need the Deso to start getting active with the Weaver. It helps, obviously, but especially with the Blightstone, he has a lot of new damage. He's actually going to come and engage on this bottom fight.
Yeah, they are going in, but there is a beautiful silence. Sidoi looking very, very much in trouble. Does manage to get the time lock up. Is that what I saw right?
Yeah, he
We're
got
also
the
going to
time
see
lock up.
Big Nom taken a tumble maybe. They're going for Gyrocopter. That was the most clutch time-lapse I've ever seen. I actually saw his health go down to pretty much nil, and then he was gone, and I was like, I don't think you died, sir.
Yeah, he got
Hold
down to 38 health before he time-lapsed out.
Yeah, also was silence there, so I'm sure he was spamming that
Right.
button.
Yeah, that was just a bad timing on the teleport in, but his team did end up coming out pretty far ahead out of that fight. Sadoy got down, engaged a little bit, got an assist, and then got back to farming with absolutely no cost.
Nicely done there for Sadoy. Obviously, gonna be a little bit in favor of Rebels with that exchange, but nothing too extreme. Of course, putting the Gyrocopter behind again, and Weaver is one of those heroes who can get up in the Gyrocopter space despite the rocket barrage.
They're going to move on to Big Num here up top.
Nice
the
block body
by
block. Metrum, MVP of that engagement. And as
That
you
was
said,
very nice positioning from him. Just reading out his opponent extremely well there. The Weaver being pushed back was a good play, but the roll in, quite there.
and Weaver has decided to go for boots, just for folks playing at home. It's always interesting to see. There are some folks, often when Havos plays Weaver, he'll wait a really long time to get boots. Although his Weaver is incredibly good, so sometimes I was waiting to see whether it would be the full Lincoln's finished before actually getting any sort of shoes.
Sometimes you can get away with that just because of how often you can spam Shikuchi and how much of your maneuverability is really reliant on time-lapse anyway. Right? You get into the fight, you get out of the fight with time-lapse, and Shikuchi is there to move you around the fight. If you're running around with reliance on your base move speed, you're probably not in a very good position.
Where's my kitchen?
Yeah, I think that for the Weaver, it's already showing that it's a really nice game. It's just not being really punished at all, and taking a look around, I don't see any protection on the Radiant side. Not that they're going for a gank on Weaver right now, but just in general, the Weaver can kind of do whatever he wants, it feels like.
Yeah, they really don't have any control. We talked about this during the draft. Like, even if they do drop down a ward, how are they going to keep him in the ward? If they use dust, he can just purge the dust with time-lapse. So they don't really have a good set of options to handle him.
But at the very least, it looks like they will find themselves one of the Rebels. Oh, Vonscore walking away, takes a bit more of the poison timber. Thinking about coming back in here. Weaver is in the thick of it, and they get the kill onto Shadow Demon. Goddamn, still there. Does have another rocket barrage up. Tamo Wild taking a lot of damage. Gonna try to run away, but throws in the chakra, gets the kill on Goddamn. Well, Weaver picks off another, and oh, Tamo Wild thinking about it. Be careful, Arise may turn around and just breathe fire on you. Throws out the chakra. Arise was definitely thinking about it, but not quite able to find it.
Yeah, they did a very good job of taking down priority targets there, right? They moved through the targets in exactly the right order to keep everybody alive. Had the gyrocopter fall in a half a second later, they probably would have lost a hero. If the Earthshaker had fallen half a second later, they definitely would have lost a hero. Doing a good job.
Yeah, and I'm losing heroes. There is the rock toss over to Cheshire Cat. The weave will manage to get that. Just Sadoy's doing mad work. There's nothing else to say. 9 kill involvement, 10 kills across the team. How often do we see carries getting that active?
Yeah, well, Weaver is one of these heroes that can get active really early because of his natural maneuverability. He can come into fights and lose them. You don't necessarily always see him getting active this early, but like a Weaver, right, he has the ability to get in there, or excuse me, like a Spectre. He has the ability to get into fights and get out of them relatively safely, so he can kind of poke around. That, and on top of, you know, the opponents running a dual off lane into a Witch Doctor really helped him out tremendously. Weaver probably wouldn't have been this active if they hadn't had such a...
Team Wild actually opts for the Hood of Defiance before picking up the Bloodstone. It makes a lot of sense in this draft against the Gyrocopter. Dragon Knight has quite a bit of magical damage output, although I do wonder if anything would have changed having the extra mana regen from the Bloodstone. Seems to be doing just fine with what he's got.
Yeah, part of that is just really good coordination across his team, right? He's not relying solely on his own maneuverability in order to stay alive. He's relying very much on this tag I'm in, tag I'm out sort of playstyle where Doom gets very low, he runs back, and then Tame My Wild runs in and kind of scrapes the aggro off of him, and then somebody else like the Weaver swings in the backside and starts to take the aggro. A lot of Rebel success so far this game has really been just about communication and coordination throughout these fights.
Oh, they're not out of it yet on PR. They are 3,000 gold behind, but that graph stagnating. They are also 3,000 experience again, somewhat stagnating. It looks like they're grouping up for another smoke. Got one on J4. What do you think this perfect engagement looks like? They do have 6 on the Earth Spirit, so they could try and drop a Magnetize, but Measure Cat's really low if they try to smoke up with him right now.
Yeah, they do have Armlet now on a rise, and they do have Helm the Dominator on Goddamn. They are going to immediately lose a ward, and I'm just not sure that they have the tools that they need right now in order to have a positive lead. Maybe wait until the mechanism's up on Cheshire Cat. We saw this same issue, right? That the Dragonite and the Gyrocopter, they don't window at the same time, even remotely close. Although they're doing their best to get goddamn caught up to his mid-game window. And what ends up happening, pretty much unilaterally, when you have these two heroes on the same team, is a very passive mid-game. Now, if they do end up going into a position where they secure the advantage, they should be able to kind of roll that momentum forward, but getting there is going to be very difficult.
They open onto Arise. There is a nice silence, but the Death Sword being held in place now. The Doom. Arise taking a lot of damage here. One more smack. There is the cooldown. They do manage to pick off the DK, and Bosco, mainly the one taking the cooldown to Joy. Now coming forward. Earth Spirit, you need to do something to save your teammate. It looks like they might not. Follow onto Goddamn. There is also a nice disruption, forcing Team My Wild to back on out. Somehow, only the DK getting lost in that fight.
Yeah, but that entire fight, the whole function of that fight was, yeah, if we can get kills, that's great, but really we want to zone these guys away from this tower so that we can eat it. And that was a successful objective, right? Doom walking away with that with 300 extra gold, and that's going to bring him that much closer to his first item. And look at Sadoy, he's just going to be able to kind of hang out here and harass out with these bugs and get as much farm as he possibly wants.
Yeah, Sadoy at this point, game status, does what he wants.
This is dangerous. Arise and Goddamn out pretty far. Meanwhile, their opposition is thinking about cutting in between towers at them.
We'll have to wait a second to make it happen. I was a little bit surprised that the Weaver... I feel like I must have missed an item coming up, but probably just finished the Aquila or something when I wasn't paying attention. But for Timbersaw getting closer and closer to that Bloodstone, and it's going to get harder and harder to fight him because he'll have so much business to throw out, so much sustain for all of his spells.
Yeah, and this is what they were doing. They're trying to test the stack.
Oh gosh, the Earth Spirit does manage to jump in, throws out a 3-man Magnetize and a really good silence, but will this be enough? Valscore in the danger zone, getting Magnetized up again. God damn, maybe not the right part of town, but manages to get next back up. There's the Death Ward. Metro immediately stopping when the wall is dropped, but Weaver in the back line does have that time lapse, manages to get back into a better position while Timber going to be the one to finish him off. Might go down to the creeps, does. Really well played there, taking advantage of that stack. The Slithering Crush is stopped by a beautiful disruption from J4, but will it be enough? Shockwell wants the Slithering Crush, gets the kill onto J4, but Earth Spirit meanwhile does pick off the Doom. This fight's a mess all over the place, and Weaver off to the side, going up to the north. Rebels, oh, the jump away by Slaughter just in time. They actually saw him completely with this ward.
That Satyr Tormentor was the MVP of that fight for Rebel. Not only was he there in order to bounce that Paralyzing Cask at max range and make sure that that Witch Doctor ultimate was maximally successful against the entire team, but in addition, he threw Hadoken out onto the Timbersaw just before Timbersaw shockwave, or excuse me, Timber chained away into those Ancients, allowing him to deny himself. Really, the neutrals are even on Rebel side.
Always helpful. They did take a little bit of a lost fight for that, but of course it's just more gold going into Weaver's pocket. There's the finished Lincolns that I was wondering about, and I was like, you have an inordinate amount of gold. Must be something hiding on a courier. Of course, the last patch did break some of the courier binds, but neither here nor there. So, Sadoy, now with the Lincolns a little bit tankier, a little bit scarier. I think the main imposing thing is can work on the Deso and be ready to go, and I actually believe you may be ready to go.
Yeah, we are getting close. I am passing the America Star Ladder here in like 7 minutes, guys.
Yeah,
so I might have to drop out of this. We were hoping the series would get done a little bit faster.
You let me know whenever you need to drop out. I'll carry this
You
one.
probably hear me typing manically in the background, trying to get my cast together, but trying to keep it together. I was trying to keep it professional, Llama, but you're
No, I just
outing
wanted to
me.
make sure that we had a track on the time. We do want to make sure Americas gets costed too. Can't just leave them, lurch,
No.
even though these games clearly better. All of you watching this one. They are going to think about contesting the Roshan. They have really nice pit fight. There is the call down. Volsco again being silenced up. A Timbersaw coming right on in there. Chakram onto a couple of them. Timber Wild still hasn't taken much damage. There is the death ward from the high ground. Nice hit. Chakram on through. Goddamn, getting very low here. Chakram comes out again. Gonna finish him off a rise. Not taking terribly much damage thanks to all of that Dragon's Blood. Gonna go for the TP out. Will they be able to do anything? No, they won't in time. And so far it's a 1-for-1 though, of course, getting the carry in exchange for your support. Doom, always tasty. And J4, not sure you can get away from this Sakuchi. Looking like he's going to be going down. Slithering Crush, that'll be that.
A big 3-man Slithering Crush in the middle of that fight really turned it around here for Rebel, and now they're going to be able to class back into the Roche pit and just kind of take their time on this big boy. Get that Aegis nice and fresh.
Yeah, that was another good team fight for the Rebels, putting them a bit further ahead, over 5,000 gold, and with all the minus armor, this should be a fast affair, even adding the Swarm to that.
Yeah, this is... I obviously can't be contested because Power Rangers did just try and fail to contest this, so... Weaver's going to be sitting on top of that Aegis, and... So a Weaver Aegis is always a weird thing, partially because in a normal hero that's holding on to the immortality, right? Normally you would want to save all of your survivability spells, for example, like a BKB or whatever, until you respawn. That's not 100% true, but a general rule of thumb. But in Weaver's case, you usually want to use time-lapse first, because you can't time-lapse out after you respawn from Aegis, because it takes 3 seconds and you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I've seen that go wrong before.
Right. So usually if you have another core on your team that can initiate, you often do want to put the Aegis on that other core just because it's not quite as useful on the Weaver. In this case, the Weaver has a kill streak of 6. He's got 7 assists. He's just balling out of control. And I think that it's very reasonable to want to make sure that he's able to go in and do as much as he possibly can.
Even though they're down 9 kills, PR, they seem to have a good sense of team fight. They do actually put out, I mean, it's hard against those tanky heroes, but the Magnetize plus all of the poison coming out from the Shadow Demon, which is being maxed there, is doing some work along with the cooldown. It just feels like they need more and they need time. So pulling it back, like we talked about last game, waiting a little bit until your window is there, maybe the play here for PR.
Yeah, we already saw this in a series earlier today, right? The Gyrocopter Dragonite combination didn't window together, they didn't hit a power spike, and they had to roll back all the way into their base, defend high ground as best they could, even give up a Varus before they were able to find their thing with off guard.
Okay, Big Num, he's gonna be found off guard. There is the cooldown, but it's another just zoning cooldown. Not gonna be enough damage to really pain anybody. Tame My Wild, ready to throw out that Chakram, but not gonna be far enough. They're just gonna use it to clear the creep wave. Oh, but no, they found another J4 going down. And Rebels, they get the tower, they get 2.
Yeah. And so, they were in excess of 7,500 net worth before they had a tower lead. That's a very bad sign. Usually 7,500 net worth advantage comes from the tower lead, not before the tower lead. And we're starting to see that plummet toward the 10,000 mark as this Desolator is now up, and that was the moment that they were waiting for in order to try and see high ground.
Yeah, and as you talked about, it's just Weaver's the perfect hero to see this with the Deso. Oh, so just gonna go poke away at a rise. He's in that dragon form, trying to see if he can make something happen. The blink away from Sharklow, actually pretty worried. I would think about getting Dragon Tail. Cheshire Cat has dropped the wall, manages to vacuum through it, but Sadoi gets the tower and just skitters away.
Yeah, they grab a tier 3, absolutely no cost. Gyrocopter's off free farming, but he's nowhere near where he needs to be in order for that to be a Uprising Tremor. And they're just going to wait and slow chip these Varus.
Oh,
They've
the
got 2
Gyro...
minutes left of the Aegis, by the way.
Yeah. For the Gyrocopter, what do you think is up next? It does feel like he needs that physical damage and he needs it now, but there's also a lot of damage you can avoid with the BKB because all of what comes out of Timbersaw is it making sure that you're not held in place by the paralyzing cost or the slithering crush flying around, but then, you know, Weaver's going to eat you alive with the Deso. It just...
Weaver is going to eat him alive with the Deso no matter what he does, but he does need some additional survivability, and he needs to double down on the efficacy of his slot. So he does have a Yasha. That implies that he's going to go for a Sanjin Yasha when he can do so with a buyback. At this stage in the game, though, they're looking at losing a barracks, and even with respawn times as low as they are, they need to make sure they have as many buybacks as possible.
There's the cooldown. Oh, actually got a time lapse back down and puts him in a good position to poke away Kartan. Two-man slithering, curse coming out, and the Doom onto a rise. They will immediately see the buyback coming out of Gyrocopter, the Death Ward, poking away at that DK, all that physical damage. Finally, a rock comes on through. Magnetite going around onto a number of them. Sidoi may end up running the Aegis here, does go down. They've also picked up the Doom. Will Sidoi be in a safe enough position? The Silence, the Lincolns has been popped. Sidoi stunned up, did get off that Sakuchi, but the dust not enough, and now Sidoi coming back in, gonna start throwing things around. Does not have that time lapse still, has to be careful, but Timbersaw, tamed by Wild, going forwards, going to manage to throw out that Chalken for quite a long time, still stunned up here. Timber chaining over the top, a dive back onto the Gyrocopter. Weaver very low here, is Sidoi going to be just fine, and they will probably kill off J4 as well. No, a nice Dragon Tail tamed by Wild, may need to suicide, does chain over to the sideline, throws out the Chalken to try and buy some time, gets the kill, gets the suicide!
What a nice play from him. That was riding the line. But on the plus side, Power Rangers did take a couple of kills there, and they did manage to hold on to their barracks. Now, they did also use, I think, all of their available buybacks. Yeah, they used 100% of their available buybacks, though. So the next push, even though their opponents won't have the Aegis, will probably still be much more difficult to throw off.
Oh, you say next push their opponents won't have the Aegis, but they may just wait on Rebels for that to be up and some sweet pickoffs in the meantime. Instead, they're going to siege down the bottom tower. Weaver could probably do this alone, but has Doom accompanying in him.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I don't even think they need to. Like, that last fight went not ideally, but they forced back all the buybacks out of their opponents, and even so, still traded fairly even, right? They lost a lot of gold net worth advantage out of that, but it's only because of how far ahead they are. I really don't think that they need to wait for Aegis in order to siege the high ground, although they might play it safe. I think that would be a mistake into a Gyrocopter, though.
Well, they do have a lot of creeps in position. You can see them pinging out the mid-wave, acting like they would rather push that one up. Obviously easier without the tower. The Gyrocopter was forced to use buyback there, as we saw. So going to be on cooldown for a long time, but does free you up to buy that YOLO item. Maybe you think you can get something for the next fight that'll help out. You do what you can.
Yeah, it's true. Gyrocopter has buyback on cooldown and 2,300 gold. He should just buy something coming into this fight for survivability or whatever. He seems to be waiting until he can just buy out the full Sanj, and that's fine, but if this fight comes earlier than he expects, and he loses some of his 2,400 unreliable gold, that would be a pretty big loss for...
Nice things about the team fight coming out for Power Rangers. They do have Guardian Greaves on the dogs here. That's always really helpful when you're going against these minus armor strats. It's when you're below 20% health. You get a bunch more armor, but the DK brought down in the bottom lane does not have a buyback.
Yeah, they are just going to continue to siege down this bottom. And this is going to be my last team fight. So if this is a GG fight, fantastic. If not, I will die with the
you might get two of them. Von's core up in top lane, probably going to get picked up. But he does manage to doom out, goddamn, so there will be no TP here, and they are working on the racks in the meantime. You would just throw away the glyph has been thrown out. Instead, they're just trying to push on PR. Really, they cannot bring the Gyrocopter back. They'll have to deal with being one racks down. Melee at least. Sidoi pounding away, has the BKD actually, flying into him now. And finally the Doom wears off. They will see Gyrocopter coming back, but we see Tame by Wild jump in super aggressively. Is disrupted in place if they can get a silence off or anything, but no such luck. A full lane of racks going the way of the Rebels, and now around the bottom lane. Where's that fight we're so desperately looking for? Silence onto Tame by Wild. No follow-up, and he may go aggressively in again with that blink. Does still have 13 Bloodstone charges, and that would making him so tanky. Okay, there he goes, jumps in, Timber Chains on out. Does manage to dodge that poison. Mr. Doi poking away at the tower. I'm not sure who wants to blink first here.
Yeah, they can just continue to slow siege this as long as they want. They've got Sakuchi and Time Lapse as well as BKB for 10 seconds on the Weaver. By being on the high ground, he's not in danger of dying.
Cool. Dragon Form has been popped by Arise, so that definitely puts a timer here. Rebels, if they can hold out until that's down, or they can find a good jump spot. But yeah, just the slow siege. Both sides have good wave clear.
Yeah, it will continue to be a slow siege. I've got about 45 seconds left in this cast, so I'm hoping for some action.
Come on, guys.
Let's see it. They're just waiting out the Dragon Form, waiting for some additional creeps to be coming in. They actually, a scan used by the Radiant side, it looks like. No, Dire side, to make sure nobody's scooting around their outside.
Oh, and here it comes, Arise jumping forward, a nice pull down. Tamed by Wild's gonna take most of it. Shuffle tries to jump in, but instead it's just gonna get vacuumed back. So he has popped the BKB. There's the Death Ward going around, causing a lot of damage. Goddamn brought down, does not have buybacks. We're gonna be seeing Witch Doctor taking a lot of damage. Timbersaw buys back into the game. The boulder kick on through, stunning up two. Sidoi can't do anything here. Needs to help his teammates, needs to do damage to Arise. Arise will finally go down there. They have lost the Doom. Buybacks coming out from the Shadow Demon. Sidoi still pushing forwards. Has that time lapse. Hasn't used it. Finally uses it to get back a little bit. Gonna walk through the wall again. But it is Timbersaw going hard. Gonna get disrupted. One more hit on the Big Numb. He gets it, but the tower will finish him off. That's a godlike streak going the way of the Earth Spirit. And Tame My Wild realizing he probably can't fight against the world. So they hold.
Well, that was a very nice execution to open that fight from Cheshire Cat. And I really wish I could hang out and see the rest of this, but I'm going to have to come back and watch the end of the VOD. Thanks for having me.
Thank you
and
for
everybody,
joining me.
when you're done with this, I'm going to be casting Americas in about 45 seconds. So
we will host over on the Americas. Sorry again, folks, but this set was meant to end a bit earlier. Had some server issues. Let's get into it. Tame My Wild looking for the pickup on Cheshire Cat. They're just going to throw out that Chakram and cause problems. Even though they did lose that fight, the effigy is now gone, the other Moonwells gone in the Radiant base. We all have a problem that every time they're stalled out against Rebels, they need to worry about their base. We will be seeing what they can do here. Obviously, for Rebels, they have Roshan control. It's going to be max respawn timer, you can see, around that 11-minute mark there. And if they can get control of this again, it feels like they should be able to take another Rax like they did with the Lost Aegis. So Rebels probably waiting for that, as you can see, keeping an eye on it, and Roshan has spawned. Wow. Goddamn, still desperately trying to farm. Does have that BKB up. Sitting, actually, buyback timer up again. We will see 3 buybacks available suddenly on the Radiant. This is huge for them. It means that they should feel empowered to contest the Roshan. They're going to go for a smoke, but it's too late. This was definitely looking like posturing for a smoke or something coming out there, yeah. A4 had one. Oh, they actually go for it anyway. A very aggressive play. This is a bit of an all-in. Smoking into the Aegis always is. They do still have buybacks, as we mentioned, though. And we'll see. Radiant have some idea of where the Dire are. They also have a scan. The Timbersaw isn't there, but of course does have those bots at the ready. The Joy standing out in front, and they are going to go on to the backlines, but immediately the Bink Away Metrum shows himself. He even pops that BKB, no longer can be Dragon Tailed up, and Arise taking quite a bit of damage here. Isn't going to be able to get out of it. The Death Ward bouncing around. Metrum finally goes down. They haven't killed the DK yet. A nice disruption, but he does end up falling. Goddamn, going to be picked off as well. They have buyback on 2 of these dead heroes. Big Numb, gonna Glimmer Cape, a roll, no, can't get the roll away. Tame My Wild jumping in front. They're still looking for him. Sidoi gonna be the one to chase on out. A boulder kick on through. And Big Numb should be able to buy some time. This is all just buying time to stop the buybacks from being forced out. And Rebels are falling for this. Finally gonna focus back on the base. I have to imagine that the buybacks will be coming out. There's one from the Gyrocopter. Sidoi still has the time lapse, still has the Aegis. BKB is on cooldown though. So at the very least, a cooldown. Maybe to try and get some damage on someone here. And DK has one as well, but they're going to try to buy time for it. Goddamn, it's being jumped on by the Timbersaw. Tame My Wild doing a lot of damage. Glimmer Cape going to save his life, forcing him backwards. But the Rax are exposed here. Goddamn, again! Tame My Wild getting up in his face. But 3 more seconds and DK is back. They won't have the Dragon Form, but at least they'll have the Breathe Fire to slow this push. And it looks like Rebels going to back up, wait for their creep wave. For the lineup of the Radiant, they don't have much, but they do still have the buyback on the Earth Spirit. The buyback, oh, just as I say that, he picks up a gem. deciding they need to get back some map control, but a risky pickup, given that this may be, in fact, their last fight. Rebels playing very unaggressively, maybe wanting a little bit more damage finished on the Weaver before they commit to anything. They do already, as we've seen in the past couple fights, have that Aghanim Scepter up on Metrum for the double bounces. We'll go back to a bit of a lull in the activity. As I say that, though, it looks like Team Wild may be planning on murdering Timbersaw if he goes too far forwards. Okay, they have seen each other. Goddamn. Gonna take a little bit of damage. He does, of course, have BKB, TP if necessary, and there's not much Timbersaw can do against it until he has some other items. So just gonna harass him and maybe bounce back down to the rest of his team for what could be the final fight of the game. Give it a go. Weaver coming in. Gonna work on that range, Drax. That one doesn't regen. We're gonna have a nice time there. Oh, Team Wild jumping in. DK, okay, a nice vacuum back into the wall, also into the cooldown. BKB pop by Sudoi. He'll just stand there and hand it to Goddamn, taking a lot of damage. The Deathwood bouncing around as well. Goddamn does go down, no buyback there. Takuchi off through, gonna hit Cheshire Cat, blown up. Arise is doomed on the front lines of the fight. We do have a nice magnetize, but it is not enough. They lose the Shadow Demon, they're gonna lose it all. And there will be 2 left to fight the buyback status. The 2 who are left alive are the ones with the buyback. Magnum will get a kill there, but eventually gets brought down. Doesn't have buyback because of that gem buyout. And Sudoi just sitting around, has the second life. GG's are called. And it will be Rebels advancing forwards in this lower bracket of StarLadder Phase 2. Really well played there. I think good games out of both teams. Either side taking a snowballing win, and really well done there. But Rebels end up being on top, knocking Power Rangers out, and that'll be that. Once again, I'm Llama Down Under. I've been joined by the Wonder Cow. He's now going to call StarLadder Americas. I'll throw a host over to that so you